Yuki is like, Mayu said no to me? Mayu's mad at me? Welcome back to a wonderful review of a wonderful Precure, and we are on episode 18. This is a pretty interesting episode. I feel like it's definitely a setup, and I do like it when they do have two-part episodes for the debut of a character, which this is, in case anybody, doesn't know, this is all building up to Lillian's appearance in the story, Lillian's debut. And I feel like the tension is pretty well set here. I also think it follows the uniqueness of this series, and for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way this episode kind of handled things and then where it left off on. Which we start off with technically the build that we had from the last episode, which we feel like we've been building for a while now, rather than episodes just kind of feeling like they plateaued for a bit and then we just had the next debut. It feels like since we've had the introduction of Yuki in her human form to Nyami, I feel like it's just been nothing but kind of this uphill tension that I'm excited to see pay off next episode. But this was another good build episode where Yuki finally talks to Mayu as Yuki and they have a real conversation with all the cards on the table. And honestly, the way this went was nice for the fact that it started off very heavy. Yuki last episode drew the line where she admitted that she did not want to have anything to do with Komugi and Iroha. And so to break the tension, we do have Mayu being like, hey, as they assumedly are going back to Pretty Holic. But she's like, hey, let's have a second and chat about what's going on because a lot just happened. And to break the tension for at least a moment, we have Mayu just get super excited, as we did with Iroha, that, oh my god, I can talk to my animal, which I think is very cute. I like this consistent thing that happens in the series, which is one of the reasons why I really want to see it with Satu and Daifuku, because I thought that was also really cute when Satu had that moment where he thought he could he had some line of communication with Daifuku. I want that. I want at least that. Give Daifuku a human form at least for a second. Nonetheless, it is very cute to see Mayu get so excited about the prospect of being able to talk to Yuki. And it's a nice, comedic break from the tension. It's also nice because Yuki's also really happy. I feel like we really just haven't gotten the opportunity to see her happy outside of her cat form. And I'm vibing with it. She's she's actually just so excited to sit here and be with Mayu. And we have Mayu do precisely what I would have done, which is remember all the times that you snuggled your cat against their will. So, I think Yuki just is par for the course. And then Mayu inevitably gets super embarrassed and run away so that we can have our title sequence, which, by the way, I think I'm going to put a link in the description for this. For those of you who only see it on Crunchyroll, as most of us probably do, you did not get to witness that the live broadcast actually did a special version of the intro because this is the 1000th episode. Actually, I take it back. I think this is the 1000th broadcast of the show. Not necessarily the 1000th episode to exist in the franchise. It's complex. Maybe we'll have a second celebration. But they did a cover Eien no Tomodachi, which is one of the all-star songs, and had a slew of images from other seasons pop up, and it's just really cute. I will leave the link in the description so that you can get access to that. It's very sweet. And it was such a good nod that they just obviously wouldn't put in the Crunchyroll one just because there's not full access to Precure, and there might have been legal issues with the song being put on streaming websites or something. There's weird legal issues with the copyright for movies versus the copyright for the show, so that gets into some corporate minutia I don't care about. But nonetheless, we'll leave a link for that in case you see it. Next thing that I really liked about this episode is the inclusion of the Kidine animals. This happens a couple times in this episode, and they've been doing it more recently. But now that we've got a slew of these characters in here, they keep bringing them back and having them at least have one line, and just making them feel more present. We have had so many seasons where we've just got whatever fairies that we have to collect or we have to save, and we just kind of have them in the background. We see them all of once and then never again, and they're whatever. I like that because the Kidine animals are something that they're heavily marketing, that they bother to actually have these characters feel like characters. There's not too much distinct elements or depth to any of them in personality. We'll see the rabbit the most because the rabbit was the one saved first. But it's nice to have them all sit here and have this conversation, which is the other thing that's nice about the Nico Garden and going back to the Nico Garden, is we actually get to hang out with Mei and all these Kidine animals and discuss, in which here we actually discuss Nyami and the way we're reacting to Nyami not joining the team. Because I feel like, again, a lot of seasons would make this a downer where they're all depressed in the corner talking about how somebody doesn't want to be their friend, but because of the balance for Komugi's personality and Iroha's personality, as well as the balance of the Kidine animals and Mei, it feels like we keep it a little bit on the lighter side and a little bit more comedic, but also honest. You have Iroha and the Kidine animals finals and Mei stay relatively optimistic or like everything's gonna work out kind of way. But you do, this is what I like about Komugi as our main character, is she's honest about this. She's upset about it. Whereas I feel like, again, we've had a lot of characters similar to Iroha as the leads for a couple of seasons who have been very, just like everything's gonna be honky-dory. But Komugi is here to say that, yeah, I am kind of mad that she blew us off. But it's not to the detriment, like she balances out with Iroha, who's like, there, it's fine, you know, everything will work out. And it's just one of the reasons why I love this duo. And I feel like compared to other seasons with other duos where a lot of the duo's purpose was to constantly fight with one another, I like more that this season focuses on making sure that Iroha and Komugi kind of balance one another out. I'm pretty into that. And then we get to see Mayu's first challenge at having this talking cat and trying to hide the secret, because Mayu is honestly significantly worse than Iroha, and Iroha was not that good. She's trying her best to hide it, but Yuki, also being somebody who very much balances her owner out very well, is able to sit there and be like, girl, it's fine. Like, unlike Komugi, I can keep my mouth shut and I know when and when not to talk. I know to play the role as a cat and, you know, hide my identity. I've been doing it for, at this point, several episodes. And we move to her giving the backstory that we've all been kind of wondering. At some point, she did turn into a cure off screen. And it appears to go back to the bear episode, which I think is when most of us thought it happened, because the bear Garu was hanging around town before they actually dealt with the bear. I think that's this one here, and I think that's the first one that she fought. And they have this whole confrontation in the middle of the night, and we have the reveal that Yuki transformed thanks to the little item that we did see Mayu create several episodes back, the charm becoming the cat's pact. And I actually kind of like this because it makes sense that they didn't show a transformation here because she's going to transform later in the episode, but we do get to see her have this nice cool glow transformation before turning into Nyami. I like the quick transformations. They're always fun. I love this, like, I love the glow thing that they've been doing since. They've been doing it for a while. It used to be golden, but I remember it very distinctly from Star Twinkle. And that's how our smug little cat gained her ability to protect Mayu, which is going to be the main conflict that they have, being that all Yuki cares about is just protecting Mayu. As well as the fact that compared to some of the theories beforehand about Nyami being a little bit more of a sassy character, which she still could be, I think once things pan out, we'll get to see what her normal personality is like. But we do see that, like, she really cares about Mayu. In a very serious manner, she's like, you are the only thing that matters to me. You and Pretty Holic, and that's the only thing I'm going to care about, and that's the only thing that I'm going to protect. I don't care if all these other animals have thoughts, feelings, whatever. She genuinely does not care. She just likes Mayu, and that's about it. And her priority is single-handedly the girl who saved her in the snow. And of course, her banning Mayu from seeing the others puts a lot of weight on Mayu, who, to be honest, she does sit there and initially, like, keep her distance from Iroha and the gang at the heed of Mayu's words. And it's very nice that Iroha and the others understand that. There's not, like, there's not unnecessary drama there. All of them are immediately understanding of, she probably told you not to hang out with us, and, you know, we get it. We understand that you're abiding by that. As well as Satu going as far to come up with this whole bit of, yeah, cats are very protective of their kind, the things that they consider family, so it makes sense that Mayu only cares about you and no one else. Which, you know, we gotta get the anime, we have to get the animal factoid in there. And Komugi and Iroha in their own way try to also explain it. And they do this little, like, one-by-one thing that's very similar to what was in the new Gundam, which from Mercury series, which I highly recommend. It was really good. If you can handle, like, a little bit more of a mature series in the sense of, like, blood. But that one's really good, and this was a cute little bit. I like them trying to explain that, like, you know, you have two conflicts, but you still can, like, choose your own path, and it'll all work out. It's a sweet little moment. They even go as far as, like, how about you explain it, Satu? You're the explainer. And he's like, what? Who? And we see Mayu have her little, she's like, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna ignore you guys. Even though Yuki's in the corner like, stop hanging out with them. We have our Garu hatch on the beach in the meantime, and Yuki's like, we're out of here. Which I do love that not only did she just show up because of the Garu, she's like, Mayu, Miss Ma'am, I'm gonna keep an eye on you. We need you to focus. We need you to do what you gotta do, and I need you to be okay. And she's like, we're going home. And everyone's pretty supportive. Like, again, this is one of the things that's nice about this team specifically, is that the mentality, especially between Satoru and Iroha, balancing out Komugi, who probably would be a little bit more emotional without the two of them, they ultimately accept it. They ultimately definitely are like, yeah, we totally understand what's going on. Like, sitting here trying to fight and escalate it is not going to win Yuki over by any means. They're just very understanding of the situation, as well as the two of them understand, like, the burden of dealing with the Garu is something that is theirs. And it's cool that Nyami has gained these abilities, but at the end of the day, they are the ones who promise to deal with the Garu, and they're not going to force Nyami to step up, which is just, that's who they are. And then our monster of the week is the hamster Garu who is buried in the sand. Some hijinks go on. We also see, I don't know if we've seen this in other episodes with the other Kidine animals. I'll have to think about it a little bit more since their abilities are a little bit vaguer, but we see the hamster be able to shrink down to size, which is the, I guess, minor spoilers. That's the ability that you get with the Garu power from the Kidine hamster, but we get to see him use it while running around. And then here again, we sneak in the Kidine animals to explain what I just explained. And we get to see them. They feel more present in the series. In terms of marketable plushies, this could definitely lead you to be more motivated to buy said marketable plushie. We'll see how well that sells. I did like this moment where Mayu is playing around with the Cat's Pact and trying to figure out how it works. I don't know if we've really ever done that before with other seasons, where we have like our magical items and we're just like, yeah, that's their magical items. It will show up in 3D when we transform. I don't know if we've ever just sat there and like played around with the item and tried to figure out how it worked. This is kind of cool. Also, I bet it's pretty interesting for her because she, technically speaking, made the item that turned into this item. This is like connected back to her and she's like, oh, this is an interesting palette that's kind of my fault magically. We hit back up with a little bit of animal factoids as we switch back to the hamster. We explain how hamsters work and the burrowing and all that. Hamster owners, you know, make some hamster jokes in there. All of it to come back to the fact that the hamster is not dealt with. We have actually spent multiple days trying to catch this hamster who keeps shrinking down and running away. And Yuki is fed up. She's like, if you're not going to deal with it, then I'm going to take business into my own hands. Despite some of the protest from Mayu. And Mam goes ham. Like, she is still ready to fight them. I do love, she doesn't use her claws the way she did earlier, but she does, like, she is ruthless with this shield. This shield is hardcore. And Mayu, ultimately, being an anime girl, it's like, I can't sit here and just let things happen. I have to be there. I have to do something about it, despite her really, at this point, being able to do anything. And we once again have Friendy try to explain to Nyami that we can't fight them, like, this isn't going to work out, you can't do this. And Mayu also protesting that we can't do this. Leading to this moment where Yuki is like, Mayu said no to me? Mayu's mad at me? There's a little, I didn't expect this, but also makes sense for the dynamic between Yuki and Mayu. But like this hit, like her, like seeing her upset, maybe it's just because we've seen so little emotion from her at all, just because she hasn't had time to have her human form and talk and interact. But this little like look of betrayal hit, which makes sense why Mayu ran away, being like, oh, I feel really bad about it. And Yuki goes after her. Like, I feel like Yuki being obsessed with Mayu in a cat way versus we've seen Komugi be obsessed with Iroha and her little dog way. I think it's just gonna be so fun. I think it's gonna be a fun thing in the series. And thus far it has not been irritating to me, which is, you know, that's the goal. Not to be frustrated. All of this basically ending and them running away and our hamster still not being dealt with. All to be dealt with in the future episode where we have a preview where we know that Lillian will be debuting next episode, which I'm super hyped to see what comes in. Like, the thing that's so interesting about Lillian's design is she has like the sassiest looks to her and like she has a personality look that is nothing like we've seen with Mayu. Like just this level of confidence and sass. And there's a level of that confidence and sass, and maybe it's just they constantly keep choosing screenshots where she just looks like she's about to like take somebody down. She looks like she is going to wipe the floor with you every time you see a picture of Lillian. So I'm interested to see what she's like as Lillian, because there are some characters who like 180 in personality when they transform into their magical form. But I'm so interested to see where it's gonna go. This has been a fun build. It has not been my top build up to a character debut. I still think Cure Wing is heavily up there, as well as Cure Sunshine, but I obviously have a type when it comes to the build for that. There's a level of tension that I enjoy. But I think this is like them fighting and then Mayu ultimately being like, well, if you're not going to be a Cure, I'm gonna be a Cure. I feel like that's how it's going to conclude. Is going to be interesting, because honestly, I'm surprised that we have not seen an inch of movement with Nyami and her desire to deal with the garu the correct way. Like, they are really putting their, like, they are like drawing a line in the sand saying that she does not want to work with does not want to work with the others, and the only thing she cares about is Mayu. I wonder what sort of direction they're gonna go in to try to convince her that there are other people and other things worth saving. And I'm curious how they're gonna handle that, because I think that's going to be a prolonged conflict. That's going to be the dynamic even after Become Lillian. I would not be surprised if there's a couple more episodes, because I don't want to see her make a 180 so quickly after we've had so many episodes of Nyami being like, I don't like you guys, I only care about Mayu. I want to see that slowly, like, her break out of that shell over the course of several episodes, the way that so much of this series has been incremental. I want to see that continue to be the way. But anyways, that is it for this episode. I will see you guys next week for Lillian's review, and I can't wait to meet you there. Bye bye!